Welcome. Today we're talking tools.
Something you're only going to get up if you have super low ratios?
What's up, everybody? Today we're in my garage with my Jeep and we're going to talk tools, but there's a catch. I don't want to talk screwdrivers though, or wrenches, or sockets, or hammers. What we're talking about today are tools that have been added to the Jeep specifically for very certain tasks that need to be done as you progress in the levels of off-road. All right, folks, let's go find some dirt. So one of the things that you can add to your Jeep or to your vehicle or whatever it is to help with off-roading is gear reduction. If I'm in a really technical spot and I need a really low gearing, this will add a secondary low transfer case. What that'll do is give you a better crawl and better ability to control it when you're in the rocks and the technical stuff. So with this particular transmission, this transfer case and this underdrive box all engaged, it'll go 159 to 1 on the rear output wheel. What that does is I can feel each lug of the tire gripping on the ledges of the rocks. So now I'm in granny low. This is the low. It's actually so low that when I apply the brakes manually, I can't stop it. That's how low it is. So I have to be very quick on the clutch. Okay, so when you go off-roading, one of the first things you're gonna do is air down your tires. What that does is give you a fatter tire print on the dirt or the terrain that you're on. Dirt, rocks, snow, mud, sand, keeps you up top. In the snow, it keeps you afloat, things like that. In the rocks, it helps grip the tire as one big giant rock. So airing down is one of the first things you'll do. What I've added here is what's called a monster valve and allows you to air it down at an extraordinary rate. And that allows you to use the other valve to monitor your pressure as you go down. This is an onboard air compressor and it's designed to air up the tires at the end of the day. The next tools are the lockers, and what these are, this locks the rear axle and this locks the front axle, and this is the air compressor that starts them. And so the air locker sits inside this diff. You can see right under there the air line that feeds the locker right there. That's the return line, that's the vent hose, and then this steel braided one, that's what feeds the air locker inside the axle. So what that does is, under normal conditions, even in four-wheel drive, the engine won't put power to both wheels at the same time. What it allows it to do, if you're doing a circle, the inner tire of the circle has to turn slower than the outer circle tire, because the outer one is making a bigger circumference, so it'll spin faster. When this is locked and that's turned on, this axle right here, that axle is solidly connected to this axle, and they work perfectly together. So now both tires have to spin at the exact same time. Why would you need that? So if you're gonna go into a rock or a V-notch or anything that will lift a tire off the ground, if you don't have a locker, the tire that is off the ground will get all the power from the motor. It'll get it all and it'll just spin. The other tire that's still on the ground doesn't get anything. So this locker, that will connect that axle together. So the tire that's in the air is pulling and the tire that's on the ground is pulling. They get equal amount of power the whole time. We have the lockers. That's the compressor, rear axle, front axle. That's the back, but only one So what I'm doing over there when I'm putting them on, when I start to climb the hill, I actually have the rear axle off. That makes it to where both wheels will spin independently. The front is locked. That'll help you climb first. That'll get the front end of the obstacle up, and once it clears, then I put it on the rear. As soon as I crest the top, I turn the front off. You can hear it hiss out. On the air locker, you can see here where it comes into the rear axle, and the air locker sets inside here and it replaces the spider gears that are normally in there. Again, locking that wheel to this wheel so they can't spin independently. So this is what is called a twin stick for the transfer case. And what it is this side controls the rear axle and this side controls the front axle. So the rear axle could go to high gear, front axle's into high gear, front axle out, take the rear into neutral, put it into low, put the front into low, or just the front engaged with no rear axle, or just the rear axle with no front axle. So why would you use those things? Let's say you want to do a front dig where you're stuck on a rock. You don't want the rear wheels to move because they're in the right line, but your front wheels are in the wrong line. You would then engage the front axle only, disengage the rear axle, and then you would drive with just the front tires. What we come to next are turning brakes. Turning brakes give you the ability to lock each rear tire individually. So what I'll do is I'll disengage the rear axle, so that one has no power going to it. I'll unlock the rear, and then I'll pull the turning brake, and it'll allow me to be able to keep the rear back tire in almost the same spot and rotate the front around. So I don't have a whole lot of steep things out here to show you what the suck down winch is, but what it does is it compresses the front suspension so that when you're on a really steep incline, it won't unload and then throw the front of the Jeep up and flip you over backwards. That's the purpose of it. So when you're on really big steep inclines, you want to suck the suspension down tight, and that'll hold you compressed. It also transfers the weight a little bit more forward on big steep climbs to help the front tires grip and pull you up and over the obstacle. Let me show you where that winch is at. So that winch is right here, and the wire rope goes back in here, goes onto this D-ring back in here, down to the axle right here, and then up to that side of the frame. You know what I just spotted? There's a hill over there. Maybe I can go get on it and show you. Now this really isn't steep enough to necessitate what I'm about to show you, but I'm trying to unload the front end a little bit so that I can show you how it sucks down. So I'm out of daylight, but I hope that gives you a better understanding of when you hear the terms lockers, suck down winch, turning brakes, underdrives. I'm gonna give you a bonus. Rock lights, or under lights, underdrive lights, whatever. You never know when you're gonna have to come back in the dark, and when you're working your way through a big rock bed, they're a lifesaver to be able to see everything that's going on. Also, if you need to work underneath it, you can light it up in the middle of the dark, and it gives you a ton of light to help fix it if it breaks. Thanks guys for watching. Have a good time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I don't know what all that was. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend.